This has been a day of shared grief in Laval, Quebec. We are looking at the daycare center where a bus crashed yesterday morning, killing 2 children, injuring 6 others. People have been visiting the site all day, leaving flowers, stuffed animals, and consoling each other. Among them, Quebec Premier François Legault and 3 provincial opposition leaders, along with 2 federal cabinet ministers. The Premier laid flowers and spoke with families. He also offered a message of solidarity and of support.
Of course, it's tough because we're talking about children, and there's nothing more important than children. Personally, most stress I can have in my life is to make sure my children are happy. So I think we don't have to hesitate to get some psychological help. It's important, and it's necessary for many people.
The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian is at the scene in Laval with the latest today.
And I think people are still trying to process what's happened a day after this. As you say, it's all very fresh, very raw. The community just pouring into the scene here. A lot of people laying flowers and plush toys in memory of the 2 children who were killed. A lot of people showed up when Quebec Premier François Legault did. I'm here actually with the father of one of the children who comes to this daycare center, Bruno Bilzil. Hello, Bruno. Thanks for speaking to us. Yesterday must have been pretty emotional, pretty hard to deal with for you.
Yes, exactly. It was a very stressful day. Long hours to wait to have to know if our daughter was safe, which took about 2.5 hours since the moment I found out about the tragedy on my cell phone from notification. So I just ran here as fast as I could. And then we were at the school nearby waiting. The police officers and the firemen and everyone was very generous with us. It was very organized to make sure that our kids, which were my daughter was unarmed, was not injured, so they were taken care of. They weren't. Everything was done to make this the less stressful for them until they were with us around them.
And thank goodness she's okay. How is she doing today? How is she doing right now?
She's 2 years old, so she doesn't really understand what happened. She's more stressed, so with the loud noise. So I guess it's related to what happened because she was in the room just after the room that was struck first. So I guess the noise had an impact on her. So she seems a bit on edge, but otherwise she doesn't really understand what happened. Thanks goodness, because it would have been very difficult for her, I guess. It's also difficult for our other older sisters, which were at the daycare just 3 months ago. Someone that were injured and even dead were their friends, and they are starting asking questions about what happened because they were at the school nearby and they saw the police officers, they saw the firemen. They don't understand what happened. They know something involving a bus, but we don't have the words to explain to them what really happened, at least for now. And it will be difficult for them to process as well, even though they weren't at the daycare because their friends were there.
So many adults are speechless at all this. I can't even imagine what you would try to say to your daughters to explain what happened.
It's we don't have the words. We really don't know what we should say, what we shouldn't. I know that we saw a lot of information about this, trying to do the best thing for them. One of my daughter understood that a bus struck the room where she was a couple of months ago, and said that her friends must have run off fast, and I really don't know what to answer to her because obviously they couldn't. So yeah, difficult questions.
Bruno, thank you very much for talking to us today. Thank you. There you go, Hannah. That's how hard it is for almost anyone here to really express themselves about what has happened.
Yeah, absolutely. You can just hear it in his voice. And then maybe you can just show us what's happening behind you as well, Rafi.
So yeah, people showing up and, pointing at this makeshift memorial, call it, for the two children who died, or in support of the ones who were injured. And you can also see the daycare center itself as well. Those wooden planks are where the bus would have gone through the building yesterday, Hannah.
And that was at 8:30 a.m. Christiane is showing us a shot there in the background. You can see the daycare. And this morning when you arrived as well, maybe we can go through, we saw the premier come there, we saw opposition leaders, federal leaders as well. And Rafi, you could tell, even in the voice of the premier, he is simply trying to console people there, but also all throughout Quebec.
Yes, I mean, he was trying to console all of Quebec, and he was also saying all of Quebec is here to console this small community, pointing out that psychological support services are available if people need them, and to avail themselves of that service, because it's just extremely hard to imagine the grief of what's going on. I don't know if you can hear this behind me, Hannah, but there's some singing going on right now.
Maybe we can just listen to it for a moment.
On peut voir le monde en tout petit, s'aimer toute la vie. On peut voir le monde en tout petit, s'aimer toute la vie. On devrait.
You can
Just
see
one
there.
of the shows of
spontaneous reaction.
very spontaneous, a lot of outpouring of support. This is just one example.
The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian in Laval, Quebec. Now, we want to stay on this story and bring in guest Valerie Black. She is a criminal lawyer and joins us now from Montreal. Ms. Black, welcome to the program. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, Hannah.
What are the next steps in the legal process for this 51-year-old man who has been accused?
Yeah, so he will be entitled to a bail hearing like any accused in a criminal justice system. I understand right now, however, he is at the hospital undergoing a psychiatric evaluation. From what I've read so far, he is to be remanded in court on February 17th, which means that at that time they will be determining if he is in a position to be able to stand for a bail hearing, or if that bail hearing will have to be postponed.
So when they're determining that psychiatric evaluation, what type of things are they trying to look for?
So that's one of the issues right now, is that we're actually not fully sure as to why they are doing the psychiatric evaluation. Obviously, we do have the witnesses' reports of how he was acting at the time that he was restrained by them until police arrived, which is obviously concerning. We do know as well that he was quite agitated at the moment where he appeared for his first appearance in court. Now, there are different reasons why a psychiatric evaluation can be ordered, one of which is to screen for any concerns in terms of not being able to get instructions as a lawyer because the person is too ill at the time, seeing if there's any concerns in terms of safety as well for the accused or for other people that are going to be dealing with him. So at this time, we don't have the confirmation as to what they're screening in terms of psychiatric evaluation that he's going to be undergoing.
And how could that potentially affect, the bail hearing and going forward as well?
Yes, definitely. So if he is determined to be unfit to stand trial, he will have to undergo continuous evaluations, possibly until he is determined to be fit to stand trial. So this can take a while until an accused is able to understand the charges that are pending against him, also able to understand very minimally still what the justice system involves, meaning that there's a judge that's going to be judging you, that you're going to be represented possibly by a defense lawyer, and the Crown is going to be prosecuting the charges. We can't have someone stand trial or go through the process. However, the evaluations continue to see if there is a progress, sometimes through medication, to see if the person then becomes in a state that they're able to go through the system. Now,
No, you go ahead, Valerie. I'm sorry.
So if there's no concerns to that effect, however, there can be concerns in terms of mental illnesses that are not being controlled that could affect a release possibly. So there's different criteria that we look at in a bail hearing to see if someone is to be detained or to be released. In terms of justifying detaining an accused, we have the flight risk, we have security of the public, and then we have public confidence in the administration of justice. The psychiatric evaluation could come in here in terms of security of the public. So if this is someone with very serious mental illnesses that is untreated or needs treatment, needs to be followed up, that is some issues that could be brought up in a bail hearing for sure.
Right. When we look at the charges, what do those charges say to you about what the Crown is moving towards?
Well, those are very serious allegations. We're looking namely right now at counts of dangerous driving, first-degree murder, attempted murder, assault causing bodily harm, and aggravated assault. So this is definitely very, very serious charges. I wouldn't be surprised that the Crown is going to be asking for him to be detained until he is to stand trial. And definitely, if a bail hearing is going to happen, it's going to be a difficult one to meet.
And I'm just looking yesterday when the story first started coming out, he was charged with homicide and dangerous driving. Those charges have really been upgraded. Now it shows intent. Am I correct there?
Yes. So with first-degree murder, it's not only intent, but it's planned and deliberation. So for any criminal offense, you do have to have intent. There is a level of complexity when we're talking about murder because we do have that planned and deliberate effect, which means that it has to be premeditated. Now, how we don't have enough information right now to know how the Crown is probably going to plan to argue that this was premeditated and deliberate, but it is a threshold that they're going to have to meet to get a conviction on first-degree murder.
So they must have had some information to upgrade those charges yesterday.
It's possible. We don't know at this time. And obviously, because it's under investigation, the police are not going to divulge this either until this gets to court.
Okay. When you see a crime like this, it's so public, it's so raw, and hits home for so many. How will that affect the trial process? So, first of all, the accused is, I'm very certain he's going to be having a defense team. The defense is going to be discussing with the Crown. So even before we get to trial, there might be discussions as to a guilty plea. So is he going to agree to the facts of what occurred, of what he did, and therefore spare the victims and society and the justice system the cost of having a trial, and therefore then just move to accepting what he's done, taking responsibility, pleading guilty, and then moving to sentence? Or is he going to go to trial? Now, if he does go to trial, the accused is the one who has the opportunity to decide if they're going to go in front of a judge alone or if they are going to be tried in front of a jury of their peers. That's where it may get complicated when you have the crimes of such a horrendous nature and that has been so mediatized as well. The difficulty of being able to find jurors that are going to be completely impartial and neutral in judging this case might be another hurdle that the defense team is going to have to address. Or the Crown, actually, in this case. Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank you for joining us to go through all of these details. I appreciate your time, Valerie Black.
Thank you so much for having me, Hannah. It's a pleasure.
Okay, criminal lawyer Valerie Black in Montreal.